All right, someone asked me a question, how did I meet my boyfriend? And I love this story, so I'm going to go ahead and share with you how it all happened. Well, it started at a retreat for my young adults group at church. This is a long story, but I'm just going to give you the full detail that I tell everybody when they ask. So, I was looking for a young adults group, and I had a friend on Instagram contact me. She said something nice, and I was like, she's so kind. I said, we should hang out sometime. She said, come tonight to my women's Bible study. I was like, oh, tonight? What time? So I came. There was probably 10 girls, all young adults, and I loved them. So I went. It was a Friday. And then the next Friday, I went again, and I was actually leading the Bible study by the second Friday. They were asking who's going to lead this week, and nobody offered, so I reached out, and they said, yes, please. So I went ahead and I offered. I led that Bible study, and they said at the end, there is a block party where all the young adult groups are going to be getting together. I said, young adult groups? They're like, yeah, this is just a women's Bible study. The young adults group are guys and girls all over the cities nearby. I said, really? So there's a block party where they were all going to get together and talk about upcoming events for the season. Now, I was working in Boca at the time, which is far from where I live in Florida. And by the time the block party came around, I was going to be about an hour and a half late. Now, to me, I was thinking, okay, I might as well not go. So I reached out to my friend who invited me to the women's Bible study in the first place. And I just told her, I think I should take a rain check. I'm going to be so late. I'm in my work uniform. She said, just come. It's worth it. So I said, okay, I'll go. She was going to move away and be a flight attendant shortly thereafter. I only knew the women from the Bible study, and I was approaching a group an hour and a half late of a bunch of people. I think there was 200 people there. So I come in my heels, in my work uniform. I was a receptionist at the time, and I'm late. I walk in, I see a couple people, I sit at their table. They're really friendly to me. I listen, they're doing announcements at this point because everyone already ate and everything. It's an outdoor block party. So I get there, I sit down, I eat, and they talk about this retreat. They say, we're doing a young adults retreat where all of our young adults are going to go away to one of the popular lake and camping areas over here nearby. And it's for 2 nights, 3 days. It's going to be incredible. We're not going to use our phones. The theme of the retreat is rest, resting in the Lord. And what does rest versus tired mean? And we're going to be meditating on the theme of rest. It's worth it. You got to come. And I think it was $150 or $200. And they're saying if you make your down payment tonight to go and reserve your spot on the trip, then, we're going to have vans, we're going to provide food, it's going to be in cabins, it's going to be awesome. And if you reserve your spot tonight, we'll give you like $50 off or something. So I was like, I really want to go. But they said the date of the trip, Labor Day weekend. My Oma, who is my grandma's sister, her birthday was going to be over that weekend, and I was going to plan her birthday party. I hadn't actually planned it because it was recently discussed beforehand, but I thought, man, I can't go to this retreat because I already have an obligation for this party. I wasn't going to go on this retreat. That was the thing. So I left. I didn't go up and make that reservation and get the $50 off. I didn't because I thought there's no chance. I already made this obligation. I'm going to stick to this. I call my mom on the ride home. I tell her, Mom, I just went to the block party. It was amazing. I met these people. It was so cool. It sounds like they have great things going on. I want to join their Tuesday groups with guys and girls. I was like, they're going on a retreat in like 3 weeks. And I want to go put the down payment down. I could have got this discount, but that's Oma's birthday and I'm hosting it. And she's like, girl, go on that retreat. I'll talk to Oma. We'll figure it out. We can reschedule the party. It's not a big deal. And that comforted me so much. Thank you, Mom, and the Lord for coordinating that piece to come over me at that time. So I signed up that night. I got home, I signed up, I paid the full down payment, and I was like, 3 weeks, got it. Gonna go to this retreat. I don't know anyone. So the 2-3 weeks leading up to that point, I started going to their Tuesday nights young adults groups. There was about 20 or 30 people in each group, and it was really just a great time, good community. They provide dinner, you eat together, you socialize, and then there's a big discussion. There's a question that the leader, an alternating leader, leads a question, and it's a group discussion that you all talk about the question for the rest of the night. It's about 2.5 hours on Tuesday nights. So I was doing that. I made friends there. I was like, this is great. Then it's the time for the retreat. It's the morning of. We meet at the main campus of the church at like 6 o'clock. So, I wake up extra early, I get ready. I'm not wearing makeup. I didn't bring makeup with me on the trip. I was like, this is a trip for the Lord. I am here to get closer to Jesus, not to find a boyfriend or impress anyone. So the outfits I brought were relatively cute because I generally have a good style, but I wasn't going out there trying to wear anything inappropriate or attractive. I brought one very, very modest one-piece swimsuit and I brought 2 pairs of shorts, a high neck tank top, and a Jesus t-shirt. That was very much to praise the Lord. Like, I came there to understand my faith better. I got baptized literally 1 month before that, and I had been saved for like the prior 6 to 8 months before my baptism. So I was going there to get closer to the Lord, figure out what it means to rest, and especially to rest in the Lord. So that was my mission. And I got on this retreat. It's 6 a.m. I'm at the main campus. I signed in at the check-in, and then I had to pick a van. I didn't really know anyone, so I was like, I hope I go in a van with somebody that I remember that I met in the past few weeks, because my friend was already going off to be a flight attendant at her flight attendant school in another state. So she wasn't there. So it was just up to me to make friends, and I knew that. I would know basically nobody going into this retreat. There was about 60 people who went, altogether 60 young adults. And I told myself, I'm going to have to memorize 60 people's names. And I had a strategy. And I told people my strategy. As I would meet them, I would tell them my strategy, and it would actually reinforce me remembering their name even more. I knew there was going to be a lot of people I didn't know. So I was okay with that. I'm an extrovert. I'm very social. I get along with people easily. So I wasn't afraid of approaching a trip really virtually knowing little to nobody. So I had to pick a van. Everybody brought vans, and there was a couple cars, but I figured I'm not going to ask to go in somebody's car. I'll go in a van with, a bigger group of people. So the cars were pretty much, people already kind of knew who was driving, who's going. So I go up to an empty van, and there is one person I know standing by the van. So I walk over there, and it's a small van. The white ones that churches typically have. It was like that, where they have rows of seats. So I go ahead and I talk to my friend. We put our stuff in the back of the van, and I'm like, okay, this is my van. This is where I'm going. There's about 30 minutes that we have until we take off and load the buses and leave. So I put my stuff in the back, and then I walk away to go do something. I come back to that van. There's a couple more people standing over there. There's a guy standing there, and he's wearing a white shirt. He's got a drawstring backpack that's orange, and it has a couple like paddles in it. They looked like pickleball or tennis racket things. So he was drinking an iced coffee and had a little box from Dunkin' in his hand. Typically, it's a grilled cheese box or like the avocado toast box. It's flat with the lid. And he was just standing there looking at my van, drinking a coffee. And I looked up and I said, hey, what'd you get from Dunkin'? And he said, I got a caramel iced coffee and a grilled cheese. And he opened his box, and there was half of a grilled cheese in there. And I thought, that's weird. Guys usually eat like, one and done. Like, they're not saving leftovers. So I was like, oh, you didn't eat all of it? And then he was like, yeah, it fell on the ground. And I laughed, and I just thought that was funny. And I said, is that tennis rackets that you have in your backpack? He said, it's actually tennis rackets and pickleball rackets. Have you ever played before? I said, no, I've never played pickleball, but everybody talks about it. And then he's like, yeah, they have a pickleball court here. He's like, you should play with us when we go and do it. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then we just had a little conversation. I was like, what's your name? And then he's like, I'm Luke. What's your name? I was like, my name's Hunter. So we started talking, and I just thought he was really cute and really kind. And he was thoughtful in a way, I don't know. I could just tell that he had really clean energy. And I was like, wow, I think I really like this guy already, which was weird because I was not going there for a boyfriend. I was just, feeling out the vibe, and I definitely got along with him really well instantly. So he had to go put his stuff in his van because he wasn't actually going to be in my van. So he put actually his stuff in my van, and he had to go to the van he was driving in. I think he was going up in a car actually. So he put his stuff in my van. He wanted to go in my van, but when he went to the car to talk to people, they were like, come on, let's go. So turns out, like, he told me that later. So I'm in the van with my friends. There's like only 4 or 5 people in the van that's like big and mostly empty. And there's 2 drivers at the front. And in my head, I was reminding myself of his name, thinking, okay, Luke, don't forget his name. So I just thought to myself, like, I like him and I don't want to forget his name, because that was one of my strategies for memorizing people's names, is that I want to remember what their name is, so that when I see them again, I don't have to ask again, because it shows respect when you remember somebody's name after the first time. It really does. It speaks volumes whether we know it or not. So knowing someone's name is very important. So I was memorizing his name because I knew I was interested in him off the bat. So then I get to the retreat, we arrive. It was a great ride up, and I put my bags and stuff in my bunk. And so then I go back because I left my coffee cup in the van, and I didn't want it to just spoil and sit in the car over the weekend. So I went back to the van to get my cup, and as I opened the van door and went up, he opens the back like 2 doors, and he opens at the same time as I'm going up, and we kind of look because I can tell he's looking in the van to get his stuff, and I look at him and he's like, "Hey, Hunter," and I thought, he remembers my name, I remember his name. Oh, that's a good sign. Maybe he likes me. That's a long shot, but I don't know. We kind of had some good chemistry when we first met. I don't know. I was like, I don't know, but he remembers my name. Okay, that means something to me. And I told him, of course, "Hi, Luke," and then yeah. So anyways, we walked back to the cabins together, which is not that far. And we get there, I clean out the cup, whatever. So then we go to the first service. There was like a planned out schedule for the retreat. So after we set up our bunks, we were supposed to go to the little chapel that's like right there. And I sit in the front row because all the other rows are taken and nobody wants to sit in the front, but I also don't care. So I sit in the front, and he's sitting in the row behind me, and I'm kind of just meeting the people in his row, saying hi, introducing myself, and everything gets started. And one of the first things they do is they play an icebreaker game where they're doing like Bible charades, where you act out a scene from the Bible. And they were going to do 2 teams. One team is the left side of the room, one team is the right side. So they're like, okay, right side of the room, who would like to be the leader of their team? Nobody raises their hand. So I'm like, I'll do it, because I am not shy. And also, like, I love theater. I just love everything. Games, life, in general, people. I'm not afraid. So I'm like, I will lead the team. And everyone's like, "Okay, Hunter," the few people that know me. And I was like, yeah. So we do Jesus feeding the 5,000. So that was our Bible story to act out. Luke was on my team because he was sitting in the row behind me, and there was like professional photographers that we saw the photos for later on. He was near me every second of that game, like the planning and everything. You can see him look at me, you can see us being right next to each other. Like, it just happened to be that we were drawn toward each other. So that was our first gathering, and then we went to lunch. So everybody just kind of sporadically lines up, and we go to the cafeteria, which is over this hill, and they had excellent food options, like incredible. And it's pretty much full because I was toward the end of the line by the time I have my plate and I'm looking for a spot. So I'm just looking around for an empty spot. There's like long plastic tables with a bunch of seats on each side, and you have to kind of pick a side and walk all the way around. So I see there's like one big section on both sides that's clear, and I'm like, I'm gonna sit over there. So I sit, and a couple people, like a couple that I met during the game, sat in front of me. I had one friend that I previously knew from the women's Bible studies that sat on my right, and now the seats in front of me and stuff were starting to get filled up. I start eating. I have my big water jug that I carry with me everywhere to this day, like different. I always have a big water jug sitting next to me. So I have an empty seat next to me, and Luke sits next to me. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but he's a leader at our young adults group and at our church in general. He serves 2 different times a week for kids or students and young adults. And I didn't know this, but he's a leader, so he literally knows pretty much everyone at the retreat, all 60-some people, except a few, I'm sure. And me being one of them, he could have sat next to anyone and everyone, but he intentionally chose to sit next to me. I didn't realize until I found out that he was a leader that meant a lot, because he didn't have to sit next to me. He chose to because he wanted to, because he was interested in me. Very sweet. So we start talking. He sits down, puts his plate down, and he puts a giant water jug next to him on the table. We have the same exact water jug in different colors. It's a half-gallon water jug, and it measures the time of the day of how much you should be drinking. And I'm like, you and I have the same water jug. We start talking about my passion for water and nutrition, how I went to college. I was still in college at the time for health science. So we started talking about my degree, and then we talking about him in college, his degree. He was talking about the reason he got his water jug is because he just went to Ecuador and the Amazon rainforest, and he went with his friends, and that's why he got the water jug, because it clips onto his backpack so he could go hiking. And I was just like, wow, this is an incredible man. So we start having these conversations, and he told me about his history. He was homeschooled. He went to a Christian college, and I'm like, wow, my past is very different. I just recently got saved. I went to public school and college. Our lives are very different, but you are intriguing. So we just kept talking, and there's actually a picture that the photographer took where you can see us in the slightest bit in the background of us sitting next to each other, and you can see my water jug on the table too. I'll put some pictures up with this video. That was the first day we met. So that was at lunch, and after that, we kept seeing each other. Like, we would split up for small groups because they had small groups. He was a leader of small groups at the retreat for a different group, and like, I just kept bumping into him, and we would spend a little time here and spend a little time there and get to know each other more and more. And I was like, this is happening, and I like it. Like, I feel this is supposed to be this way. So we end up going to the water and doing swimming activities on the lake. There's giant inflatable slides and like things you can wrestle on and tip over, and there's just a bunch of fun water activities. So we go to the water, and afterwards we're kind of leaving the water at the same time. We like wrestled on one of the things, and we walk back together. After that, we shower, clean up, and before dinner we have alone time. So everyone is supposed to not hang out with their friends, just bring your Bible, bring your little devotional, which is like your own little study packet for the Bible that everybody got in the retreat, and you just take it somewhere isolated in the camp, sitting by yourself by the sand, on a hammock, in your room, at your bunk, you know, hiding behind a building. Just like have alone time, isolate yourself with the Lord, pray. They gave us like an hour and a half to shower. Maybe it was 2 hours to shower, have an hour of alone time. So during this alone time, I find off in the corner this cabana kind of pavilion with a table and chairs, and it's alone. Nobody is there yet. I already showered and cleaned up. I have my Bible, my devotional, my pens, my highlighters for my Bible, and I'm praying to the Lord, reading the devotional. After that, I pray to him. I'm like, God, this man that you put in my life, is he from you? Because I didn't come here looking for a relationship. I came here to seek you and to understand you better. I've already been learning so much on day one about you and how I should forgive myself, and I shouldn't carry the burdens of the issues and mental health problems going on in my family, that I don't have to carry those burdens. Those are burdens I can put on the cross of Jesus, and that he will take care of me and give me his peace and comfort. Thank you, Jesus, for these realizations. I'm here for those things, not to find a boyfriend. So I don't want to chase after him, Lord. I don't want to have to think of him every 5 seconds trying to figure out where he is or where I might see him next. Will we sit next to each other? Will there be enough space? Will I bump into him? These are thoughts, God, that I don't want to have. Can you just, if it's meant to be, if we are meant to be together, Lord, put him in my path so that I don't have to spend my time here chasing a man instead of chasing you, Jesus, because I am here to chase you, Jesus. Like, my relationship with you is more important than a relationship with a man. If you want me single, Lord, let me be single. If you want me in a relationship, make it evident to me. Make it so clear that you want me in this relationship. Do you want me? Am I supposed to be with him? Like, I don't really know too much about him. I just met him today. Lord, if it's meant to be, put him in my path. If it is not meant to be, Father, take him out of my path so that I'm not busy trying to chase him, because I want my focus this retreat to be on you and my relationship with you. I want to understand you better, God. That is why I'm here. So make it easy for me. Please make it easy for me to understand and discern if this relationship is supposed to happen, or if I can just focus on you and have peace this trip without chasing a man. And that was my prayer. My prayer was for clarity and to put him in my path. I asked the Lord to put him in my path if it was meant to be. And the Lord did. Every single time, just every opportunity. There were 60 people there, and nobody had their phones on them. And yet, he continually put me and him in the same place at the same time. We would be transitioning from, showering, cleaning up to going to dinner, or from small group time to quiet time, and we would cross paths. We would go from water time to kickball, and we would stay together. Like, every opportunity there was, the Lord brought us together, and I just had that peace and confirmation that this is from the Lord. Like, what a wonderful feeling. I explicitly asked, and I got that clarity and confirmation even on the way back. So we basically spent the whole retreat together without even trying. We didn't have phones. We didn't coordinate meeting at a time and place. We ran or bumped into each other so much. We spent the bonfire together. We sat by the bonfire. We were the last people that stayed at the bonfire for over 2 hours having a deep conversation. We didn't even roast any marshmallows. At one point, he was holding one marshmallow in his hand for over an hour, not stuck, but deep in our conversation, and he just popped it in his mouth because he said, and I started laughing. I said, and he's like, well, I'm not going to get up out of this conversation to go roast it. This conversation is too good. He just ate the marshmallow. Like, we were really connecting so well. And it happened quickly because the retreat seems like such a long day. You feel like you get a lot of activities done that day. You get to know a person a lot in an environment like that. And that bonfire was the first night. So then the second day comes. We do all these fun activities. We have a lot of time with our small groups, our alone time in the big hall with everyone, getting the good word of God, doing worship to worship music. Like, it was just amazing. And on day 2, we were leaving dinner. The sun is going down. It's literally golden hour. We're walking, just us two, over the hill back to the cabins. And it's golden hour. Like, no makeup, just living in the moment. Like, I feel like I'm camping in the great outdoors. Like, it's just beautiful. Florida's nature. There's water. There's a giant cross by the water. And we're walking over the hill together talking, and he asked me the previous night, since I'm such a health nut, like I was telling him about my health journey, that I was doing a challenge called 75 Hard. The day we met was my last day. It was my 75th day that I completed the challenge successfully. So in those conversations, he asked me, where do you like to eat then if you're going to eat out? I told him Bole. I love Bole. But Bole is a health food place, kind of like Chipotle, but more healthy and very accommodating to people's dietary restrictions. And I told him that. So when we're walking over the hill together during this beautiful scenery of golden hour, he just, I guess at some point, I don't know where the cutoff was, but he just said, on Friday, would you like to go on a date with me to Bole? I think he said something like that. And I said, yes, I would love that. And he's like, okay, great. He's like, and it was Sunday at that time. And we were going to leave on Monday because it was Labor Day weekend. So it was only a few days away from Friday. So we would have had a few days in between of not seeing each other. He asked for my phone number. So right then and there in the beautiful area of the golden hour scenery, he had his phone on him. So he took my phone number and sent me his information too. And we said, okay, Friday. And then he said, have you heard of this ice cream place called blank? And I said, I have. I love that place. I've been there. And he said, maybe we can go there after dinner. And I said, okay, let's do it. So that was our first date. So anyways, then after the retreat was over, we already had the first date scheduled on the books. Monday comes along, like we've just had great times. I watched him play pickleball. I did not play because there's a whole competition and there's a bunch of people eager to play and I had no idea what I was doing. But we just had so much fun activities going on and we spent a lot of time together. So we didn't take the same buses or vans on the way back. We took the same ones we came on, and all the vans and cars came together for Zaxby's to eat at lunch on the way home from the trip. And there was a 4-person booth that I was sitting at with 2 other girls, and he got his food after me, and he came up and said, hey, can I sit here? Because there's an empty seat. And I was like, yes. So we sat next to each other then, and I just knew already I really liked him. So by the time we get back to the church, back to the main campus, we're about to head home. It's Monday. He walks me to my car, because his car was not far away. And I said, can we take a picture together? And he said, yeah. So here is our picture together, our first picture together. We knew we were going on a date later that week, and we hugged. That was our first hug after this picture, and we said our goodbyes. And I just knew he was the one. I just had that confirmation from God. I knew it felt right. It felt so right. Our conversations flowed well. There was nothing resisting in me saying this guy is giving me wrong signals or anything like that. It felt comfortable. It felt right. I had confirmation from the Lord. I had peace about it. And he asked me on a date. I was like, he likes me. So we went on our date, and it was amazing. We ended up the following day, so Friday night, we went to Bole for dinner. We got ice cream after, stayed out kind of late. I probably got home around 11 something, and he picked me up, of course, and then he drove me home as well. And then the next morning, we agreed, because I was going to go walking in our local park for exercise, and he picked me up at like 7 something. We went to the park. I made coffees for us in my house. So we had coffee. We took it in our cups, our like insulated cups, to the park. We went on a huge few-mile walk across around this entire park, and then he drove me back home. And so we technically had 2 dates back to back. And then we kept going out together every weekend, every chance we had. I went to his young adult group on Tuesday nights because he went to a different one than the one I originally went to. He was in a different city, and it was also a different day. I was going Mondays. His group was Tuesdays. So I started going with him. He picked me up, took me with him to his group, and it's just been wonderful ever since. It's funny because I actually moved away from that area where I met him. I was there for a few more months ever since we first met, and then I had to move an hour away, and we don't see each other as much, but I still see him about once a week, maybe twice, sometimes 3 times. It's crazy, but yeah, you would think it's really hard doing long distance, but he's very busy. He's in school getting his master's. He's got his job. I've got my job. We're both volunteering at our churches, and we go to church actively. So we're busy people, and yet we still see each other a lot. And I just had that confirmation from the Lord that this man is the one for me, and I always go back to that. If there's ever any doubt in my mind or insecurity or fear, I go back to that moment at the retreat and think, A, I almost did not go on this retreat. I almost asked for a rain check not to even go to the block party. B, that I asked the Lord to take him out of my life if he wasn't meant for me, but to put him in my path. And that was very clear confirmation for me. And also I think back on those things and think the Lord is our stronghold. The Lord is the support of this relationship. I don't have to doubt or fear, because I know that the Lord is with us. He's a devoted follower of Christ. I'm a devoted follower of Christ. And we're going to get through any obstacles that come our way, whether it be financial, emotional, with others, social obstacles, geographical obstacles of long distance, whatever it is. I know the Lord is going to prevail and get us through it, because I truly believe that it was divine, and I got that confirmation from the Lord upon me asking for it. I think a big reason that the relationship was ready to happen was because my heart wasn't set on looking for a boyfriend. My heart was set on the Lord, and I think that's very important. I didn't want to try. I wasn't out there looking. I was looking for the Lord. I was looking for my saving grace, my peace in life, and the Lord is that. So my heart was set on the right things, and because of that, I was prepared for a relationship, because my heart was already putting Jesus as number one. Because I believe if Jesus is number one in the relationship, then you can have your relationship and family. But Jesus has to go above and before everything else, and then he will guide you, he will lead you, he will take you through any challenges, any hopelessness, any fear, any doubt. He is my strength to this day. If I've had any insecurities, fear, or scares in this relationship that I have with him, I come to the Lord. He is my stronghold. I pray fervently, which means that I pray hard. I pray all day long. I'll pray every situation I can. Every time I get a thought in my head that is afraid, I pray it out, and I pray for the Lord to deliver me away from these thoughts, to take them out of my head. And he does. He does. He takes them out of my head. These haunting thoughts that might come up and try to scare you, they get removed, because the Lord is your number one. It's not the relationship or anything else that's number one. It's not your job. It's the Lord, and he gets you through anything and everything. So I hope this answered your question well. It's a full description of how we first met. I hope you like my storytelling. If you have any more questions, please ask. I am always willing to answer. Comment them, direct message them to me, whatever you want. I can mention your name, or it can be anonymous, like this person asked to stay anonymous. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this. God bless you. I'm praying for you, all my viewers and subscribers and followers and friends. Continue to check out my other social media platforms linked in my bio. God bless you. I am praying for you. I love you, and I'll be praying for your future relationships as well. I pray that you strengthen your relationship in Christ in all things, and I thank you for caring to watch my video. God bless you, and have a blessed day.